Good morning, everybody. Today's June 7th, 2022. This is the Podman Community Meeting. We have 3 topics as of now on the agenda, although the first one's going to be shortened quite a bit. The first one is Podman on Windows Update. Jason Green was going to be coming in today to do a demo of where stuff is. Unfortunately, he was just came down with COVID, and he's out for the rest of this week. So I'll do a quick little pointer and dance for that. And then after that, we'll have Podman Desktop update from Florent Benoit. And then we'll wrap up with a Podman Upcoming Releases update of what we're planning to put in the next following releases, 4.3 and beyond. And then we'll have open forum and questions. And if you have a question or comment that you want to have addressed while we're here, please bring it up during the talks. So given that, I am sharing my screen already, so I'm just going to hop in real quickly. If you haven't seen recently, this is what Jason was going to be demoing today, is there's a new update to the Podman on Windows. I've created a blog post, which I'll put into the chat, listing how you can go ahead and install it. It goes up very, very quickly. And it's basically 4 steps that you need to do. You download it, you run it, you do an initialization, you do a start, and then you've got Podman on Windows. And it takes 5 minutes if your machine is really, really slow. If it's not slow, 2 or 3 minutes total stem to stern. So there's this blog post here, also on our YouTube site, which we have a new channel now, well, at least a newly named channel. It's youtube.com/c/Podman, shown here. And there's a YouTube video there, which I did a walkthrough of doing the Windows install and using it. So if you want to take a look at that instead. And then just to go ahead and if you want to just go ahead and dive in play real quickly, you go to the Podman site, to the releases page, and there's a bit of a scroll here, and I'll apologize so quickly. If you look for the 4.10, and then scroll down to the bottom here to the assets section. Normally this looks like this when you first bring it up, at least it does for me. So you just need to pop that open, and then this Podman 4.10 MSI, that's it. That's all you need to do is grab that, download it onto your Windows machine. It's got to be Windows 10 or 11, and run that executable, and then a couple of setup.
Tom, sorry to interrupt. I hear a lot of typing from the background.
Okay.
Can please everybody mute who's not muted?
I'm not picking up on that, but thank you, Valentin. And I wasn't typing. Yep, no problems. And so, unless Jason could do a whole lot better job than I could on this stuff and talking about it all and telling you all the ins and outs. He's also got a great tutorial up on our Podman site, which goes into more detail on more of the inner workings of all this that you can take a look at, and I'll add that to the meeting notes as well. So unless there are any questions about that.
Is the link to the MSI available on podman.io? They're getting Podman?
It is not, but that's an excellent idea. I'll make a note for that on my yellow sticky so I won't forget it. Any other questions? All right, so with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And we'll have Florent. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Florent?
Yes, it's Florent or Florent. But yeah, Florent is okay for me. It's very hard to pronounce the Ron. So
is it French?
Okay. Yeah, French. Yeah.
French. So Benoit, right?
Yeah, Benoit. Yeah. Florent Benoit.
That part I got right. All right, go ahead and take it away.
I will share my screen. Yeah, I hope that you see my screen now.
Yes, we can. It looks great.
So there is a new project that is called Podman Desktop on containers organization. And this is where we are developing the app that is working both on Linux, Windows, and macOS. There is a website as well on podmandesktop.io So we did some announcement last week. So it explains basically what we can do with the tools. I will show you a demo. So we have a tray icon. We can run on Windows, Mac, Linux. As well, if you are using Brew, you can directly install it from Brew. No need to download some files. It keeps up-to-date Podman on Windows. So if you don't have a Podman install, it will install Podman for you. We just merged this pull request today. And on macOS, we have the code signing. So you don't have any warning when you want to download the product. We are able to manage your registries as well. And we are using plugin architecture. So it's very easy to plug new system, new configuration, new behavior into the product using plugins. So let's show you a quick demo. So first, I will show you that if I have Podman running on my computer, I can just run Podman Desktop and it just works. I mean, it's able to detect my Podman machine, see if I have a custom Podman machine, connect to it and stuff like that. And of course, I can use the GUI, but if I use some command from the command line, like if I try to pull some image, if I'm inside the tool, when the image is pulled from the command line, so it's taking some time here, but when we pull the image, it will appear as well in the GUI. So yeah, it's just pulling a small HTTP image, so it's there. So nothing to do. You have Podman that is working. You just launch the tool and it's working. Of course, you can build some image as well from the tool. So you can select your container file or Docker file, whatever. You can run the build and it will create the image from your container file. So it's very easy as well to build some images from the tool. So it's a very short image here. So again, when you have built the image, you can see the image here. Of course, you can see all the image because we are using the same engine. It's possible to run the image. So if you want to, for example, run some, if you want to run some container, you can, and it will display the link to connect to the open port. If you have some problem, you can open a terminal inside the container and see if there is something wrong or just do whatever you want. You can check the logs as well of your container. So everything that you can do with Podman. Of course, we manage a private registry. So for example, if you try to pull an image like private image, it says that I'm not authenticated. So you can go to the registry, add a registry like code.io, enter your credential, and then you come back to pull your image. Now it's working. So when you need some custom registries, you can do that. Of course, the registry that you add from the GUI is the same that the Podman engine is using. So you can use the CLI. It will use the same credential as well. Okay, now we have some plugins that I've said. So we have, for example, Podman or CRC plugin here. So here I have CRC engine, so that allow you to start a Podman as well, installation. And when you do that, it's possible to add to enable a new plugin here, like the CRC plugin. And now we can see in the image that we have some images coming from CodeReady container, so that will be renamed to CRC, but we are able to see images or containers from multiple container engine at the same place, and I'm able to drop image if it's not used. So I'm able to manage all my container engine from the same place. Of course, these plugins are running dynamically. So if I go to the plugins folder and I just enable the Docker plugin, then we can see that we have a Docker plugin that is just arrived. And now I can see all the containers that I may have running on Docker engine. And of course, I can disable this plugin, and I'm just going to my original setup. So here, for example, I just have Podman, and that's all. So yeah, I think I did a coverage of several aspects of the tool. So maybe if you have some question.
When I just start up install Podman machine, how do I get when I install Podman Desktop, how do I get the Podman machine up and running?
Okay. So we are in the progress of having some pre-checks or welcome or onboarding page, but basically if you don't have any Podman machine, then you need to go to the preferences of Podman machine, and here you have the button create new, and you will be able to create a new Podman machine. And then you are able to start or stop this Podman machine. But the idea is we want to have a custom onboarding. So if you don't have any Podman machine, then we need to guide the user by just clicking next, and he will have a default Podman machine set up for him.
Okay. When you showed the images showing up, are you constantly probing, or are you watching events and when events happen?
So here it's watching events from the Podman socket. So yeah, it's not a pull every 5 seconds. We are just watching events from the Podman socket on different engine.
And do you have the ability right now to use rootful and rootless containers at the same time?
Yes, correct.
And how would I change from rootful to rootless?
So today you cannot do that from the UI.
Okay.
But it's possible to use the Podman machine set, and you do rootful or rootless. Then it will change the Podman machine from rootful to rootless. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Can we currently do Podman machine, rootful, and rootless at the same time, or does Podman need to do this as well? Podman.
It's not possible from Podman machine currently.
Okay.
You cannot have two Podman machine at the same time. So
yeah. And will this Podman Desktop be able to support remote connections? So say I had a Podman on a machine that isn't running in Podman machine, but is running, in the cloud somewhere.
Yeah. So at the end, we are using a socket. So probably if we are able to provide the SSH socket or some links to this remote Podman machine, and then it should work as well.
Yeah. Okay.
we need like a proxy or
Right.
a custom
I'm not sure
protocol.
it's in the backlog in the repository, but this is a good one to add as a feature request to the repo. That will be a nice one.
Okay, let me ask one last one and then I'll quiet down. Where are my pods? When do I get pods?
Oh yeah, it will come. It's they're
This
coming.
one is in the backlog.
Okay.
But it should be very easy because we have the API and it's just a list. So yeah.
So we need extra contributors is what you should say. As soon as someone wants to contribute.
So maybe you can vote on some features. So if many people are voting for one feature, then it may help us to decide which one to implement first as well. But if you think that pods are the most important one, then we can tackle this one first. Yeah.
You have a list of things you would like to see, like a checklist of things that need to be added to make this more complete? i.e., can I add requirements?
Yeah, so we have, you can share the roadmap, maybe, Florent? Yeah, so we do have a roadmap in the wiki where we are trying to list a little bit all of the different things and new capabilities and features that we are looking to add inside of the tool. So definitely there's room to take other things and other ideas. So feel free to share your feedback, your issues, and your ideas on the repository itself, and we can prioritize that. In few days, we will have the ability to install Podman along with Podman Desktop. We will have that for Windows, and we will be seeking for contributors and people who will be interested into testing this and reporting any kind of issues as well. So if there are people who are interested, we are definitely looking forward for your help because this will be important for the tool.
Do we still have a open issue between?
Brian, you went.
Pardon?
You went mute for a second. You're very quiet.
Sounds like you're coming off an auxiliary mic somewhere, other than your normal one.
That maybe. Better?
Now you're screaming.
Well, good. Better now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious if there's still an open issue between the two teams regarding the machine events. I've been out of the office for a bit, on and off.
Yeah, we do still have this issue. Okay. It's like the egg and chicken problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we talked over a solution with the team, so I will look back at that and see if I can get that done this week before I go on vacation again.
So yeah, to summarize the problem, for example, we want to detect when a new machine is created or stopped. So we want to track the events from the tool instead of checking Podman status every 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And then we have in Podman, a new directory where you can add some sockets. So Podman will publish some events to this socket. But from the Podman Desktop, we need to know where this directory will be to be able to add the socket in that folder. So yeah, this is why we call that, again, chicken problem, because Podman Desktop need to know the directory first. Yeah. So thanks. If you're able to take it.
The general idea was, I think the last time we talked about this as a team, was that rather than give just on Podman info if it's unable to connect, rather than just giving a unable to connect error, we would also provide the directory location for events there. We'll work this out.
And yeah, here we are not in the tool using new enhancements that we ask to the Podman team, like to be able to change the CPU or memory after we created the machine. So now this is possible with Podman. We ask for it. Now we need to enhance the UI to manage that as well. So yeah, thanks from Podman team to all these new enhancements.
Right. Any further questions, comments, or anything else that you wanted to cover, Florian? Right. We
Looks
just
good.
had a late-breaking request in chat for a quick update, and we're going to turn it over to Gerard right now to talk about the macOS installer.
Thanks very much. So a lot of work that Florian has been doing with Yevon on our end has been involving the Windows side of stuff, but we've also been looking at the other side, the macOS stuff, to optimize the installation flow there to coincide with the provider. So we have been working on a test release for that. Currently, it lives in a different repo because we needed to set up the whole CI stuff before we wanted to propose it. It should work on M1 and Intel. I just posted the link in the chat. Please provide feedback on the release if something does not work as expected or something is questionable. Please let us know. We hope to provide a PR for this as soon as possible to the actual contract repo, so this will be part of the regular Podman releases. So that was the plug I wanted to leave here. This work will definitely directly impact the work for Florent and Stefan, because then we can also release this as soon as possible as an install flow for the macOS side, besides the one for Windows that's currently being tested.
Any chance you could do a demo real quick?
Unfortunately, not now. Maybe we can plan that for the next community meeting, because then it's in. There is actually a video that I can share with you if you want to. I can add that maybe to the meeting notes. Unfortunately, it's not something I can do now. The situation. Yep. It's very late here.
Yep.
Okay. I'll go ahead and put you down for the next meeting, which will be in August.
Sure, no problem. That's good.
And so when this is all said and done and it's all set up, this will be part of the assets as well, like the Windows installer is? Is that what you envision?
That's at least the goal we're having. We'll try to propose the PR at least for this week. We're kind of impeded on our end by the proposal, but it should be as a regular release with the MSI that there will be a package. We might have some discussions that we can have around if we should have a universal binary for both macOS and Intel in one. For M1 and Intel in one release, or should we separate them out? That might be one of the questions we can have from the community.
Okay, good. That sounds great.
Yeah.
This will be in addition to being able to brew install it. So.
Yes, and it's also been something that we've been getting a lot of feedback from customers on Twitter and other places as well, saying, stay away from brew install, please. Can you give us some other option? And I think this would fit well there for them.
Yeah, one of the challenging parts is that brewless install of Kramer, and this is definitely where we want feedback from people on. So
Super. I look forward to seeing it and look forward to your demo next time, Gerard. Thanks for talking about that today. All right, so next up, we have a Podman Upcoming Releases update from Brent.
Yeah. Next release for Podman will be 4.2, and there will be very likely a 4.1.x coming prior, but the next significant release will be 4.2. We'll be firming that up in the January timeframe. Early January, I believe, you'll begin to see release candidates start
January?
floating out. Yeah, next year. Sorry, July. In July, you'll see release candidates beginning to come out, and final freeze closer to August. I looked in the Git log this morning as to what kinds of stuff was in there, and quite frankly, it's a ton. There's 250 commits already, and I would assume that there would be quite a few more before we branch. For the externals who aren't part of our regular meetings, a lot of that is from a agile sprint that we just went through, where we did a week of fixing to-dos and fix me's in the code, and we also went through a week of concentrating on bugs and issues. So that does make up a fair amount of the content that is there. Otherwise, it's a number of tweaks to outputs and tweaks to the Podman machine, enhancements, and things along those lines. So that's that. That's 4.2 on the horizon. Again, there'll be a 4.1x that we may pull some bug fixes and backport, but more specifically, we're going to change the location for Podman machine images from our temporary repo over to the CoreOS official repo and point to the testing stream. So that should be reasonably soon. I think that's it, Tom. Unless there's questions, of course.
Yep. And that's what I was going to ask, if there are any questions from anybody on that.
I'll just say that we're expecting 4.1.1, a bug fix intermediate release, at some point this week. It was supposed to be today, but I honestly completely forgot that I was supposed to be doing it. So probably tomorrow.
Go ahead, Heine.
I don't know. We can't hear you if you're talking. Tom, you're talking. Can't hear you.
So he
Check my
asked
mute
the
off.
question in the chat.
So his question is, can you know preemptively when a Podman machine has an update? And his microphone is dead. I've been there, done that.
Broadly speaking, today, no, unless you're keeping very close track of the file name versus what's out there. There are two ways that we intend to approach this. Well, actually, today you can do another Podman init, and if there's a new image, it'll pull it. So I guess that is one way to find out. But in the future, we do hope to take advantage of some of the GUI operations that you see, where we can let folks know that there's either an update to the CoreOS image proper, or there's a new image entirely that can be pulled. So we'll work that out with the team that you just heard from.
Does the CoreOS automatically update itself right now?
I believe it does. I've never run a single machine long enough to get to that point, but I believe it does. Pull it down in idle time, and then on the next boot, it'll switch over. Yep.
There's some further talk in the chat there
Yes.
going on over about, was this an update notification? And yes, this was what he was getting at, what the unit was getting at. Just putting that out there for the recording later. And then
there was a second comment then in there from the person who asked the question. And yes, we do understand this. It's just a non-trivial. It's a non-trivial approach to fixing this stuff because we're trying to glue together so many elements and get them to cooperate. No, Gerard, no issue.
Sounds like one to be spun up somewhere.
Indeed, we should create one, yes.
Yeah.
There is some, we're going to have to do, last time I believe we looked into this, we're going to have to do some work with the CoreOS team proper in order to give the user experience what we want, which is what I was referring to in terms of trying to glue all the various componentry and their needs together with something that's already in CoreOS. And that will take a little negotiation and collaboration.
Can I tap you, Brent, to spin up the issue sometime later today?
Sure.
So it doesn't get lost in the weeds.
On a similar issue, I've one of the requests we've had with Podman Machine is to support building for different architectures from a machine. So the way that can happen is just if you install a package called QEMU use for static. There's been pushback from the CoreOS team because QEMU user static is a huge package. It basically packages up, I don't know, like 30 or 40 different distributions, static executable. So it's pretty huge. I've opened up a pull request to Stream QEMU to split QEMU user static into QEMU user static i386, QEMU user static x86 for Solaris, blah, blah, blah. And by breaking it up, we've gotten it to about 1/4. We can install just the packages that we would expect people to use on CoreOS, and then eliminate sort of the architectures that most likely you don't care about. And it's gotten it to about 20% of its former size. So we will be going back to CoreOS and asking them again, can you now take the slimmed down version and provide it by default? And we'll see what happens there. And they've understood that we've been working on it. So we'll see if it gets in.
And Dan, isn't the big objection was the fact that a single binary in all that QEMU stuff pulled in Python, which is a rather large.
Yeah, that one's been fixed, but it went from 40 megabytes down to 4 megabytes now. So with the slimming, so.
Yep. So that'll be great because then you'll be able to do it out of the box as opposed to today having to hand install it with RPMOS tree. Yep, indeed. Folks are clamoring for that. Is there a link where people can pile on, or do you think this is going to go through?
It's gone through on QEMU. Well, QEMU just merged it into Rawhide, or is about to merge it.
Fantastic.
So I've asked for them to do it to 36. Otherwise, we'll end up waiting for 6 months for this. So once that's in, then we can go back to CoreOS and start groveling. I don't know if Dusty's on at this meeting or not, but
He wasn't earlier.
yeah,
I know
we'll see.
one way we can do this is to I'm guessing what they're going to ask is we do a PR to the Fedora CoreOS packaging that pulls this all together, and I'd be happy to do that when it's in
Yeah.
Rawhide. I'm familiar with that repo, and then we can debate it as part of the PR.
Yeah.
Dan, do you have a link to the PR that you created?
It's a
Andy, or
Bugzilla.
did you say?
It's a
Oh,
Bugzilla.
I'll get it to you, Tom. You need
All
it
right,
right now.
thanks. Right. Any other questions or things people want to bring up?
Yeah. I have a question regarding functionality of Podman on Linux workstations, exactly Fedora workstation. This is hugely popular. If you check at YouTube, you can find that Fedora workstation is more discussed than even Windows 11. But currently, I am stuck on the same error. It looks like some security or capability issue. Mainly, I think this capability issue because I still have the message OCI access denied and Podman stacks. But when I check and compare capabilities of GNOME terminal itself and what Podman info shows me, the capability list is different. Podman gets less capabilities than GNOME terminal itself, namely syslog is not taken, so Podman can't use syslog. If I look at that capability list, and Code1 always show me that it logs to syslog regardless how I config Podman, how I pass log destination option, it always syslog, and it's broken. It looks like Code1 can start crun. Looks very complex issue because generally when I try to run something from GNOME terminal using cap sh, I frequently get very similar error. It binary can't be started without any explanation, without any recording in CLinux monitor, so it's not like a CLinux problem, but it simply can't be executed. Literally, Bash can't execute some binaries. I don't understand why, without any explanation, and so when the Podman tries to create crun process, I think the very simple process is happening. So
Yeah.
Podman simply can't run crun.
Yeah, let's the person who's a main supporter of crun, actually the guy who wrote it, he's not here on this line today, but he's been on PTO for the last couple of weeks, and he should be back now. So we can, but let's carry this on in the issue and continue to try to figure out what's going on in the issue. It's not really great for us to try to debug it on a video chat. So could you paste in the link to the issue that you're talking about, and I will talk to Giuseppe about having him work on it with you.
There are several issues already on the Podman code mode. I can summarize some way and open discussion regarding Podman on Linux workstations. The station and workstation is quite different because there is no real terminal, no real bash. Bash is running inside GNOME terminal. GNOME terminal itself is limited, has limited capabilities. And for example, the login is really possible only to the mechanism of session log for separation.
Let's do this in a discussion or in an issue. It's just be a lot easier if you put in the commands and they're not working for you, and then we can start to diagnose it.
So I can start simply start discussion, summarize all issue, and put my findings.
Yep.
It's okay.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Let's do it as separate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
I'm just trying to get a pointer to the discussions for Pavel. And of course, everything's not working as they should. Mostly because of my bad typing. Are there any other questions while I'm flailing away on the keyboard? Hey, Pavel, I've just updated my original link there for you. And unless there's, or topics for that matter, for the next meeting, we have the Podman on Mac installer. I have another one from Paul that I can't remember offhand. I've got touch base with him, Paul Holzinger, that he was going to do, and I forgot about until late last night. And then other than that, I'll just close out then, I think, with a note that our next meeting will be on Tuesday, August 7th. Is that correct? Nope, August 2nd. Same time, 11 a.m. And that we also have a Cabal meeting coming up next week. However, I will not be around, and we'll need somebody to run that, and it may be canceled if we can't find it. So we'll send out a note one way or another about next week's meeting for the Cabal. And unless there's anything else, I thank you all for joining today and for being here with us. I'm going to stop the recording.